Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching first part of What If Naruko Was Executed. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, wasting no time, let's start the story.
She was put to death because she brought back their most valuable Uchiha. She just did what she had to do. Only to finish her mission and come back to Konoha, where she wasn't ready for what was about to happen to her. They put her in jail, tortured her, and then killed her. She had asked why they were treating her this way. She didn't deserve this. If anyone deserved it, it was Sasuke. And that was how she found out why. You are a horrible person for killing Kushina. You're too dangerous to let live. Her godmother screamed as she punched her in the face. You are not Minato's daughter. I'll let the toads know that you've gone bad. Said her godfather was giving her a backhand. It was a mistake for him to think you were Minato-sensei's daughter. I should have been the child he wanted, not you. And since you hurt Sasuke, I'll make sure I leave some marks on you. Sensei Kakashi yelled at her. What did you think I was going to do? That scumbag was going to kill me. I had to stick up for myself. Naruko glared at the people who were hurting her and giving her punishments. Should have just died and done everyone a favor. Kakashi snarled and kicked her in the stomach. And in the same way, before Naruko was about to be killed at her execution, many other people decided to cry for her. Because of what you did to the last Uchiha, the people want your blood before they die, and I'm going to give it to them. Said Tsunade before she knocked Naruko out with a punch. Everyone in the village attacked Naruko and beat her so badly that she was almost dead. Even people she thought of as her friends turned against her. The first one to attack her was Iruka. Then her other friends came and beat her up. Even the leaders of the clans helped attack her. Those who didn't attack her went to see her and say goodbye. Shizune, Anko, and Hinata were the people in question. Shizune didn't like or agree with what was happening to Naruko, and she would even try to heal her without Tsunade knowing. And told Naruko she was very sorry for what she was going through and did not hate the girl like her sensei did. Anko didn't want to attack the girl she thinks of as her little sister. Since Naruko and she are both outcasts in the village, it disgusted her to see how low this village had fallen. Then Hinata, who was her best friend and often came to her to speak for her, said something. She didn't agree with what her sensei and team were doing, so she didn't attack her best friend. Naruko died a few days after that. Her death sentence came up. Naruko, do you want to say anything before you die? Tsunade looked down at the girl who was tied up, and the girl looked back. Yeah. Everyone will have to pay for this. I swear on my Uzumaki blood that I'll find a way to come back and get even with everyone who betrayed me. There will be blood. Naruko says angrily. They killed her quickly by having her own sensei Kakashi cut off her head and then burn her. The people in the village of Konoha were happy and had parties when the demon was killed. They didn't know that in the next 3 years, it would be a big mistake. Because even death can't take down a good Uzumaki. When she was Naruko Uzumaki, another person saw memories of her past life. In this life, she goes by the name Scarlet. A homeless child in Outworld who had no family and grew up on the streets. He was hungry and wanted to be seen. That was until Shao Kahn, the man she worked for, took her under his wing and taught her blood magic. So, that's why her name is Scarlet and she's called the Crimson Goddess. Since the beginning of the Mortal Kombat tournaments and invasions she took part in, she has worked for Shao Kahn. He made her the most dangerous of all his daughters, tied her to the blood code, and forced her to fight for recognition. She wanted more than just to be known a Euro, she wanted to be worshipped. She wanted to be the next conqueror so that people would worship her and be afraid of her. In the end, she chose to turn against her master and kill him. She did this by drinking his blood, which gave her all of his powers and made her much stronger. Where nobody would dare to fight against her. She used to be a child. She used to be innocent. She was fragile. She used to be a kunoichi from Konoha. Naruko Uzumaki was her name before. The old gods knew about her past. Her now and in the future. They were really upset by what they had seen and heard, so they chose to rebirth Naruko Uzumaki as Scarlet Uzumaki. The red goddess of Uzu and the ancestor of the great Uzumaki champions. They saw how those she trusted with her life, like her godparents, sensei, friends, and the villagers she swore to protect, betrayed her. Since Scarlet Uzumaki killed Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, Sindel, Kai, and Chronica, the older gods decided to let her get her revenge. They owed her this much for what she did, so they gave it to her as payback. So, 3 years after Naruko's death, they sent the Crimson Goddess back to the elemental nations. Sunna. On the sandy ground of Sunna, a puddle of blood had formed. A pale woman with red hair and eyes came out of the pool of blood. A woman who was 6 feet 2 and wearing mostly red and black clothes with only a few white accents. From her nose to the edge of her collarbone, she wears a tight half-face ninja mask. She wears arm and shoulder guards and a coat that is the same color on the front and back, which looks like a short loincloth. She wore blood capsules around her waist and held a sacrificial knife in her hands. Her red hair was in a long ponytail. Scarlet Uzumaki is in the elemental nations to get back at the people who hurt her. She is going to use blood to paint all of the nations of the elements. At long last. I have come back, and now I will get even. Scarlet Uzumaki turns to Sunna and says, I feel trouble in the village. My friend Gaara might be in danger. She decides to go there first and then see what's changed since she died. Sunna. She was now a few feet away from Sunna. She saw smoke in the village, which led her to think that something bad was happening and that Gaara might be in danger. Before she could go any further, she was surrounded by Sunna shinobi who all looked dangerous and armed. A Sunna shinobi to her left asked, Who are you, stranger? I'm here to see Subaku no Gaara. Based on the smoke that was coming out of your walls while I was traveling, it looks like I came at a bad time, didn't I? Scarlet asked as she looked behind them and saw a team she once put her life in the hands of. It was Team 7 with Kakashi, for sure. Sakura, Sasuke, and the boy who was supposed to be her replacement, a pale boy with a blank face. Sakura asked Scarlet, Who are you? When she saw that she had a blank look on her face. She answered, My name is Scarlet, because she didn't want to give away her last name. I've come here to talk to Gaara. What's going on here? She asked, adding that she wanted to kill them right then and there, but not yet. Sasuke says with a superior smirk, The Akatsuki took the cage, and Gaara's siblings called me the Uchiha elite to do what they couldn't do. He was trying to impress the red-haired woman, and while he didn't want to admit it, she was much prettier than Sakura, and he could tell from her eyes that she might be strong and could be a potential wife for him to have Uchiha babies with. Scarlet raised her eyebrows when she heard that Gaara had become cage. So he's the cage now? I'll be sure to congratulate my friend once I save him, Scarlet says as Tamari joins her in looking at Scarlet. Tamari frowned and asked, When did you and Gaara become friends? I've never seen you before. That was a while ago. It's been a while, so I don't think he'll remember me, but I'm sure he will after we talk. She could see and feel where Gaara was, and she turned into a flow of blood that made everyone turn green and look shocked. Blood? What kind of jutsu is that? Sakura asked, her face turning green, as Kakashi shook his head. Sasuke was angry that he couldn't do it with his Sharingan. Kakashi said, We'll find out more about her later. For now, let's find the Akatsuki and save the cage before Scarlet does. Why did that woman scare him so much? Along with Scarlet. It wasn't hard for her to find the 2 Akatsuki members in the place where they were hiding while doing whatever they were doing with Gaara in the sealed area. She really didn't care what they did as long as they stopped it before it started. She found the cave where they were with Gaara and put seals on the door so that no one else could get in and stop them. As if that would make her stop. She called forth a blood wrath hammer that looked so much like Shao Kahn's. After she killed her master, she drank his blood and gained his strength, his knowledge of powers beyond anyone's imagination, and even soul magic that she had been forbidden to learn, which she now had. She has the blood of Shao Kahn, Sindel, Quan Kai, and Shang Tsung running through her body. She didn't drink Chronica's blood, but instead put the blood of the goddess of time in a vial until she needed it. But she drank the blood of the 4, and now she has their powers and skills. With a powerful swing, she broke the rock into pieces. The 2 Akatsuki members looked up in shock, and so did the other Akatsuki members who looked up from their projections to see the red woman. When they walked into a room that looked like a cave, they saw Gaara on the ground with his demon about to be taken out. Deidara glares at the woman with red hair and asks, Who the hell are you? My name doesn't matter. I don't give out information like that to people who are going to die. I'm just here to get Sabaku no Gaara back from your care. Nothing else, Scarlet said as she changed her blood wrath hammer into a cutlass sword. While Sasori, who was hunched over, laughed like she was joking. "Do you know who we are and how strong the two of us in this room are?" asked Sasori, who was bent over. "Such pride. You don't know what you're dealing with," Scarlet says as she pulls off her mask and lets out a banshee-like scream or screech that frightens everyone, including the holograms, who cover their ears. The scream was so loud that it made Sasori stand up from his hunched position. At the same time, Scarlet stopped attacking and ran at the two of them. "Sasori! Deidara, stop her!" yelled the leader, whose eyes looked like rings. Deidara said, "Right, let's blow this redhead to kingdom come." He got his clay bombs ready and threw them at her, but she disappeared in a cloud of blood and appeared next to them, slashing. Before Deidara could reach into his bag for more clay, she cut him with her blood-covered cutlass, making him groan in pain. "Die!" Sasori yelled, sending a small army of puppets after her. This gave Deidara time to heal, and blood tentacles with spikes came out to protect Scarlet from the puppets. She changed her sword into a blood scythe and charged at Sasori while her blood tentacles protected her. One puppet got close to her, but she cut it in half and sent the bloody pieces flying behind Sasori. Sasori looked shocked, but he didn't have time to react before she was behind him and cut off his head, sending it flying. She killed the rest of his body with a bloody wrath hammer as she said the man was a living puppet. "My turn." "You are so dead," said Deidara as he held a spider clay bomb in his hand and looked ready to throw it at her, only to wince in pain and grunt. Scarlet moved her hands in a few ways. "What the hell? Why can't I move? Why won't my body do what I want?" Deidara thought in shock. She moved her hands in more ways to make him kneel. He tried to fight her, but he couldn't. When he saw what Scarlet was doing, he looked her in the eyes and his eyes got very big. "You are so smart. You figured it out. This is an ancient blood technique that I have learned. It's called bloodbending. This technique has been lost for centuries, but I have learned to use it," she said with rare amusement. The more she told him, the more horrified he looked. This meant that she could control his blood. "This is impossible," he said, still unable to move the way he wanted to. She told him, "Yes, that's possible. I don't need to feed off of you." Then she forced him to put the clay spider bomb on his face, which made his eyes go wide with fear. He yelled, "What the hell are you? Remember that when you get to the Netherrealm," she said as she walked over to Gaara and picked her up. As she left the cave, she could hear a loud explosion and a scream. As Deidara's clay blew him to pieces. Just as she left the cave, which is now a pile of rubble after Deidara blew up, it fell apart. She saw the leaf shinobi and an old woman who looked like she was from Sunna coming toward her. Sakura pointed an accusing finger at Scarlet and said, "You." Scarlet didn't answer, which made the pink-haired Kunoichi even more angry. As she gently set Gaara down and moved away, she saw an older woman from Sunna go to him and check his pulse. When she saw that he was still alive, she let out a sigh of relief. The leaf shinobi wanted to fight, and Sasuke wanted to find out what the woman could do. Scarlet knew right away that it was to get more power so that she could kill Itachi. The Crimson Woman didn't care about this at all, so she started walking away. "I thought you wanted to talk to Gaara," Kakashi said calmly. The Red Woman stopped and just looked at him, her red and black trench coat blowing in a scary way in the wind. "I will eventually, but not around you toothless worms from the leaf," Scarlet said in a way that would make Shao Kahn proud. Sasuke and Sakura drew their kunai as they got ready for a fight, insulting the leaf's pride. Sakura says in a screeching tone, "Take that back, you red-haired B***tch. What's the point?" "It's true," Scarlet said when she saw Sasuke use his Sharingan and Kakashi make a mean face at her. "Scarlet-san, be careful who you insult. It's bad for your health to do that to a leaf shinobi," Kakashi said in a firm voice, while Scarlet just looked at him with her usual blank face. "Leaf shinobi, this is not your country. In this one, I can insult you as much as I want. If you don't like hearing the truth in what I say, you should leave this place and stop acting like you're better than other people," Scarlet said when he saw the Junin narrow his eyes at him. "What did you just tell me, you red whore?" Sasuke growled, ready to attack the woman, but his sensei grabbed him. "No, Sasuke. This woman could hurt you. She took on both S-rank members of Akatsuki. Which shouldn't be possible since she killed them both and won easily." Scarlet just looked at Kakashi and said nothing. The group, led by Lady Chiyo, decided to go back to Sunna. A short time later, Sunna Hospital. Chiyo told Tamari that Scarlet saved Gaara and killed both Akatsuki members. This made Tamari happy. During all of this, Scarlet was looking out the window while she looked at Tamari. "Thank you for saving Gaara," Tamari finally said, bowing slightly in front of her as Gaara began to wake up. "Where am I?" Gaara asked as he looked at his sister, who seemed to be talking to a woman with red hair who was dressed in red and black. Tamari smiled at Gaara and sat down next to him. "In Sunna's hospital, this woman saved you from the Akatsuki." Gaara asked, "Who was she?" When he saw Tamari's smile turn into a frown. "You don't know?" "She said you were friends," Tamari said, turning to see that Scarlet wasn't even looking back at them. Gaara said, "I don't know her, Tamari. I've never seen her before." This shocked Tamari, who grabbed her iron fan from next to the bed and took a defensive stance to protect her brother. "Who are you?" Tamari asked the red woman with a hard look. Scarlet said, "A friend," as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "You lie." Tamari yelled, and Scarlet raised an eyebrow. "I never lie," Scarlet said in a simple, calm voice. Gaara said, "I've never seen you before, so tell me who you are." "I see. You seem to be wrong about some things. Gaara hasn't seen this version of me until now, that much is true. But we did meet 3 years ago in the Leaf Village during the Chunin exams, and I was the first person to beat you in battle," Scarlet said, seeing Gaara's and Tamari's eyes widen in shock at her words. "It can't be. Uzumaki Naruko was killed by her own sensei, who was executed for almost killing Uchiha Sasuke." "You don't look anything like Uzumaki Naruko," Gaara said. He had been so angry with Konoha for killing her, but politics at the time demanded that the now Kazekage keep the newly remade alliance with the Leaf, and not break it again. "I already know that. If you want more proof, this will test your memory. I summoned a Toad boss to beat you and your Biju." Scarlet said this, which made both of them slowly nod because no one knew that. "Naruko Uzumaki is her name." Tamari asked, "So, what now?" When she saw Scarlet looking at both of them. "Whatever alliance you have with the Leaf, I suggest you end it right away and find a way for this village to stand on its own without their help. Do you really want to stay allies with a village that betrayed me, Gaara? Betrayed me for the traitor I was sent to bring back?" said Scarlet, who saw Gaara narrow his eyes and knew that the memory of that moment 3 years ago was burned into the Kazecage's brain forever. Gaara said to his old friend, who nodded once, "No, I don't. The Wind Daimyo won't be happy if we try to do that. If that's the case, tell him how the Leaf treats Jinchuriki for completing their missions, and how they told you to keep my death a secret 3 years ago. See how receptive he is then," Scarlet said, telling them the whole truth about why she was killed. Before getting up to leave. Within an hour, the Leaf Shinobi came back and saw Gaara sitting up in bed, looking like he was deep in thought. When Kakashi tried to say hello to the young Kazekage, the Junin did so, but as soon as he did, the red-haired man glared at them in a way that 2 of the Leaf group hadn't seen in 3 years, and it was just as scary then as it is now. Gaara was looking very worried, so Kakashi asked, "Is something wrong, Kazekage-sama?" "Yes." "Tell your Hokage that the alliance between our villages is now over," Gaara said, seeing the shock on their faces. Sakura said, "What? Why?" when she saw Tamari stand up and put her hand on her hip. Tamari said to the girl, who was staring at him, "Does he need a reason? You have 6 hours to leave Sunna before we declare you hostile and throw your asses in jail to be questioned. How dare you? Do you know what will happen between our villages if you threaten me? An elite Uchiha. We'll go to war," Sasuke said when he saw Tamari smirk at him. "Bring it. You think the Wind Daimyo will be so nice to yours after we tell him a few things about your village, especially the real truth about what you all did 3 years ago?" Tamari asked as she saw them turn pale and wide-eyed at the thought of what truth would be revealed. "What happened all of a sudden?" Kakashi asked when he saw Gaara's eyes get narrow and the room fill with murderous intent. "Uzumaki Naruko's memory and your dishonoring of it," Gaara said in a cold voice that made Kakashi's spine shiver again, telling him that something was wrong. "That sad little girl is still crying and moaning about her," screamed Sakura. The killer intent in the room was getting stronger, and Gaara was only letting them stay alive because he was sick. "Get out of Sunna, or I'll kill you," Gaara said, and the way he said it and the way he looked showed that he meant to kill the person. No matter how weak he felt at the moment. Before they left, Sasuke said, "You'll be sorry you did this." Temari said, "Not likely, because she knew her brother well and knew that Naruko was his first real friend who had been taken away. Gaara had never gotten over the loss, and with everything going on around them, he had to be nice to the Leaf. Now, he didn't have to be nice or polite to people who made him sick, and he didn't have to keep an agreement with a village that didn't have any honor. Along with Scarlet. Having left Sunna while her blood clones carried a yellow metal robot. A robot she knew from when they took over Earthrealm. Cyrax was the yellow robot she found in the sand dunes of Sunna. She knew where to take him to help him get better. And maybe try to change him so that he will serve her. Since she is a conqueror, she will become one. County of Spring. She will go there and tell Koyuki the truth, since the Leaf's lie could have made the alliances she made useless. Once she has enough people on her side, she will get her own back. She'll call herself Scarlet Uzumaki Khan of the Elemental Nations, the Konoha. A few days had passed since Team 7 got back from telling Tsunade that the Cage had destroyed their alliance. Tsunade yelled at Kakashi's team after they told her what happened in Sunna with the Akatsuki and the newcomer who saved the Cage. What did the Cage do? The Cage has told Hokage-sama that Sunna's alliance with the Leaf Village is over. When we asked him why, he said he was doing it to honor Uzumaki Naruko. He then attacked us with killer intent to show us that he was serious, Kakashi said, seeing the woman narrow her eyes at him. What about this new person? Why is she called Scarlet? Tsunade said this when she saw Kakashi not look at her for a second while he thought. It's hard to tell how she feels about all of this. It's more than likely that she had something to do with the Cage's decision to end the Leaf's alliance with the Cage, but she hasn't explained why she saved Sabaku no Gaara, and the story she told when she arrived at Sunna's gates doesn't make sense either, Kakashi told Tsunade as he kept talking about Scarlet's appearance and bloodline, which surprised her. That's right. But what gives her the right to say she's Gaara's friend? Gaara didn't have many friends when he was growing up, and his brothers and sisters don't count. As Tsunade leans back in her chair and thinks, she sees that Kakashi doesn't have the slightest idea what she's talking about. Whoever she is, it's clear that the woman is dangerous and should not be approached lightly, Kakashi said, knowing that anyone who could beat 2 S-class missing nin was not someone he wanted to fight. I'll talk to Jiraiya. He is the best person to find out about this woman. You're fired, Tsunade said when she saw the team leave and Jiraiya show up a few seconds after they left. Jiraiya, did you hear that? About this woman named Scarlet? He said yes, so she asked. I've looked into this already. I couldn't find out anything about her past or where she came from, but I have a feeling she might be an Uzumaki. He said this while stroking his chin. She raised an eyebrow. It might make sense, since she has red hair like an Uzumaki, but what about the bloodline? From where does that come? She said that seeing him sigh. I'm baffled. I can't seem to find out much about her. Jiraiya said with a frown. We have to find her and bring her to Konoha. Tsunade said that they should check to see if the woman had killed any S-class shinobi. Are you sure it's a good idea? He wanted. I'd rather know her. We have to get her before she joins another village. Tsunade said this as Shizune walked in, put some papers on her desk, and left without looking at Jiraiya or Tsunade. It sounds like she still doesn't like that you killed Naruko. He told her, and she narrowed her eyes. She'll get over it, and if she doesn't, I'll make her. She needs to understand why Naruko had to die. Since Naruko was killed, Tsunade said, Shizune would always drop off papers in her office without saying a word or just give the woman a look that seemed to say, I will never forgive you for what you did. Shizune will eventually see things her way. Well, if that's the case, I'll see if I can find anything else about Scarlet. He said he was going to leave. Tsunade would just sit there and frown, ignoring the stares of her great-grandfather, great-grand-uncle, her sensei and Minato, who were all pictured behind her. And, to her surprise, her pictures of her brother and Dan, the man she loved, even stared at her. AIM. HQ of Akatsuki. Even the people in the group were surprised when Deidara and Sasori failed to get the Ichibi and were killed by the woman with red hair. As they, too, tried to figure out who Scarlet is and where she came from. What should we do? Since they failed to get the Ichibi and were killed in the process. Kakazu asked Pain, who was silent, and it was clear that he wasn't happy about the failed capture of the Ichibi or the loss of Deidara and Sasori. We'll catch the Ichibi another time. For now, we'll catch the Nibi. Hidan and Kakazu, you two will go after her," said Pain, and they both agreed. "Itachi, I want all spies to find out as much as they can about this woman with red hair." He gave orders. "Do as you want." He said it in a calm way. They just hope that this woman with red hair won't make their organization and plans for peace more difficult. Area of Spring. Scarlet did make it, as she went right to the Spring Daimyo Castle to meet Koyuki. Scarlet said that when she got to the throne room, Koyuki asked her what she was doing there. "You're not Naruko, right?" "Naruko is dead," she said with a glare. The news that Naruko had been killed for going rogue did not sit well with her. "My name used to be Naruko Uzumaki, but now it's Scarlet Uzumaki-kan." Scarlet says, "I think it's time you knew the whole truth about what really happened to Naruko Uzumaki," and Koyuki raises an eyebrow. What was she saying? She would find out why from Scarlet. Koyuki's eyes got big when she found out that Konoha had lied to her. That Naruko was lied to and betrayed by the village in the Hokage. Even put her to death. She was going to be in the new Icha Icha movie with Jiraiya, but now she's canceling it in their plan to work together. "We're glad you're back, Scarlet. Thank you for telling me the whole truth. I'll let the other people you made deals with know." Koyuki tells me. "You're very welcome. I just need one thing from you. I need your scientists to fix and reprogram my friend." Koyuki nodded as Scarlet pointed at Cyrax and said, "He's right." "I'll do whatever you want," Koyuki said. Over the next few days, Koyuki sent messages to all of Naruko's allies and told them what really happened to her. When they heard the news, they got rid of their ties with Konoha right away. Right now, Konoha. Tsunade slammed her fists on her desk, breaking it in the process. She was angry that all the alliances that Brat had made knew the truth. How come? Then she thought that maybe Scarlet was the one? She's bad. She can't afford to lose any of these friendships. She'll get Wave Country and them to work together again. It was time to settle this. Get ready to attack Wave. Either they stay our allies or they die because they worship that little brat. She drooled, and Shizune, who was standing outside her office, saw her acting out and just frowned and shook her head. "It looks like you're finally getting what you deserve, Tsunade-sensei." Shizune thought that it was who left. Area of Spring. Cyrax woke up, and his green eyes began to glow. He looked around and found Scarlet. "What can I do to help, Scarlet Uzumaki?" Cyrax said this while he was being reprogrammed to follow her and listen to her. "We will wave to Cyrax. Koyuki told me that Konoha has sent a group of people to Wave to take it over. We'll stop them together." Koyuki offered Scarlet an army of her samurai to help her, but Scarlet told her that she didn't need them. After bringing Cyrax back to life, Scarlet had the scientists of Spring build several cyber ninjas like Cyrax. She told them to give Cyrax new weapons based on Sector and Cyber Sub-Zero while she was building her own army of cyber ninjas. He is now a Triborg, but his name is still Cyrax. Now, they would leave Spring Country and go to Wave to save them from the invasion. Wave. Scarlet and Cyrax were finally there to Wave. And watched the invasion that was happening. Shinobi from Konoha are everywhere. So it looks like Konoha didn't take their broken deal, which made Scarlet happy. But she was also angry that Konoha would attack a village. Guess it's time to kill all the shinobi in the Leaf Village to show them who's boss. As she looked at Cyrax, she knew she would need some help. Find out who is in charge of this invasion and if Tazuna and his family are still alive. When you do come back here to see me. Scarlet told Cyrax, "I'm going to bring Haku and Zabuza back to life so they can join my growing empire." Cyrax nodded and put on a cloak while Scarlet went to the graves of Haku and Zabuza. Burial site. Now that she was at their graves, which looked peaceful and hadn't been touched, Scarlet took a deep breath and started thinking about how to use her new soul magic skills, which she had learned from Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, and Quan Kai while she was studying their soul techniques. As she had held the souls of both of them in her hands and sent them to their graves, she was able to do this. Awakening them. Both of their bodies looked alive and well as they came up from the ground. Haku asked, "Zabuza-sama? Haku? What's happening? How are we still here?" Zabuza says in surprise. "It was me who brought you both back to the land of the living." As they both looked at her in shock, Scarlet said, "What? Who are you?" asked Zabuza, as Haku turned his attention to the woman with red hair. Let's just say I'm a friend. I was Naruko Uzumaki in the past. When Scarlet answered, they both made a small frown. What's up, Naruko-chan? Naruko's hair is blonde, not red. Haku said with a smirk on her face. I have red hair and am a pure Uzumaki. I'm Scarlet, and the Naruko you knew is dead. When Scarlet spoke, they both opened their eyes wider. How? What killed her? Zabuza asked if he liked Naruko because she was brave and strong. Scarlet told them what happened to Naruko. Neither of them could believe that Konoha would turn against one of their own. All for that brat Uchiha. As Scarlet went on, she said that Kakashi was the one who killed her, which is how she became Scarlet Uzumaki. She even changed her last name to Khan. To show even more that she is much better than Shao Kahn, who used to be her master. Even the fake Khan whose name was Kotal. To also prove to Katana and Melina that she is the best thing that Shao Kahn has. Zabuza and Haku looked at each other and then back at Scarlet after hearing the story. So, you two were with me, right? On my conquest and retribution? She did. Kid. After what happened to you in the Leaf Village. We are with you, of course. You have a right to get even, and they have a right to die. Zabuza said as he pulled out his sword. So am I, Scarlet-sama, Haku responded. Good. Come with me. Cyrax will soon give me a report. She said that they were both following her as she walked away. At the checkpoint again. Cyrax took off his mask, which scared both Zabuza and Haku to death. Scarlet came back with Zabuza and Haku. What are you looking at? She looked at the Triborg cyber ninja and asked. Iruka Amino is in charge of the invasion, along with Anko, who is a leaf interrogator, and Mizuki. He replied with a computer voice. When Iruka was brought up, Scarlet's red eyes got narrower. Iruka was the first person to betray her and lie to her about being her friend. Why is Anko part of this attack? She must think that Tsunade, that old whore, made Anko go with Iruka against his will. Who is Mizuki? She knew that son of a whore all too well. He was in jail, but it looks like Tsunade let him out. Holy crap. Is he for real? Zabuza was asked questions, and Scarlet nodded. Cyrax, meet Zabuza and Haku. They are both my friends and will be joining us. Zabuza and Haku, this is Cyrax, my own cyber ninja. Scarlet told him who she was, and both of them waved at him as the cyber ninja bowed to them. What are you going to do, kid? Zabuza says with his big sword in his hand. We have to stop the Leaf Village from taking over Wave. And kill every Leaf Shinobi. Scarlet says as she holds up her knife for the sacrifice. Zabuza, make a hidden mist for me, she told him as he smiled. No problem, he said as he showed the hand signs for the hidden mist jutsu. Iruka and the others. Tizuna, Tsunami, and Inari were all caught by Iruka and Mizuki on the execution stand. After what you did to Naruko, we will never work with you, Leaf Shinobi. And her name won't ever be changed on the bridge. No way. Iruka punched Tizuna in the face after he snarled. Be quiet. Either agree or stop being our friends. Or I'll let my friend Mizuki have his way with your daughter. Iruka says this while Tsunami stares at her with wide eyes and Inari looks at his mom. Even though Mizuki smiled. Don't worry, Inari-kun. We'll be fine. Tsunami felt better when she saw that her son was upset. Anko, who stood a few feet away, didn't want anything to do with this. She didn't want to hurt these good people, and they had every right to break up with Konoha. Tsunade forced her to join the invasion force. Anko, on the other hand, didn't want to go until Tsunade told her that she would make her life even worse by telling everyone that she was not only Orochimaru's student but also Naruko's self-declared older sister. Since the people in the village hate both of them, she will get even more hate. Anko would never forget how angry she was when Tsunade threatened her. She even hated the woman for killing her little sister in cold blood. All because she fought back against that stupid Uchiha kid. She wishes she could help Tizuna and his family, but she knows she can't because even if she kills Mizuki and Iruka, the whole invasion force will kill her for treason. She even gave Iruka a hard look. He was a piece of trash. He tricked Naruko into thinking he was her friend, and then he tried to ask her to be his girlfriend. Should she be his girlfriend? Not in a million years. She would rather have her old sensei make her life miserable than be his girlfriend. She had turned down his advances and even told him that if he ever did it again, snakes would bite him so hard that he would pee blood. She really missed Naruko, and it hurt her to see her die. This is it. Either do as I say, or Iruka says that he heard screams, and when they all turned to see what was making the noise, they saw a bloody mist. Then, small explosions were heard. Mizuki picked up his headphones. "Hey, what's up? Send it," he screamed. "We have no idea who Mizuki-sama is. Zabuza is making an attack on us. In addition to a yellow machine. And a woman with red hair and a boy with ice in their blood. Our army is getting smaller. Help is needed. Oh, my god. Ah." The Leaf Shinobi screamed as he was being cut by something on the other end. "Who is Zabuza? Can't be, right? He's gone." Iruka said this because he had seen Team 7's mission report. And the woman with red hair? Could it be Scarlet, like Tsunade-sama said? Mizuki also said. Before Iruka could answer, the head of a flying leaf shinobi hit the stand while they were looking straight ahead. As the mist went away, bringing to light every leaf shinobi who was frozen and broken into pieces, hacked and cut into pieces, blown up and also hacked, and even burned and frozen. They looked shocked when they saw Scarlet walk by a leaf shinobi who was dying while she drained his blood dry and took it into herself. Cyrax, Zabuza, and Haku were standing behind her. When Anko saw Scarlet draining blood, she had stars in her eyes. "It's her," Mizuki said in shock. "Hi, Iruka-sensei. It's been a while." "Yes, Mizuki," Scarlet says in a voice that shows no emotion. "What do you know about us? We've never met you," Mizuki asked as she laughed. "I'm so hurt that neither of you recognizes me." She laughed at them as she watched their faces get more confused. "So none of you know who I am? Don't I look like someone you know?" "Mizuki and Iruka, I know it's been a long time, but you should still be able to look underneath the surface, as all Konoha Shinobi Academy instructors teach their students to do. But if I remember correctly, you, Mizuki, tricked me into getting the Forbidden Scroll, and you, Iruka, always let me down in school." As they both started to turn pale and open their eyes, Scarlet says. On the other hand, Anko looked shocked as she started putting things together. "And no. No. It's impossible. You have died. We saw you get killed." Iruka screamed out in fear. "That can't happen. You were killed and burned by Kakashi." Mizuki screamed in surprise. "Naruko is. Is that you?" asked Anko as she looked at a sister she had thought was dead. "My old name was Naruko, but now I go by Scarlet Uzumaki-kan." Scarlet says that Tizuna and his family can only be happy that their hero is back, even though both men look shocked. "This can't happen." Mizuki gave a growl. "Yes, Mizuki, it's possible, but only because the Elder Gods gave me a second chance. A chance to get even with those who hurt me." So says Scarlet. "You'll be dead. Take this, you skank." Mizuki yelled as she ran at her with a tanto. "No, Miku," called Iruka's name. He ran at her while she fought back and knocked him down with her hand, which was filled with green energy. "I own your soul." She put her hand on him and, as he screamed in pain, drained his soul out of his body. When Zabuza and Anko see this, they get stars in their eyes. Iruka looked like he was about to pee himself when he saw Mizuki's body mummified and his soul ripped out of it. She turned her attention to Iruka, who jerked when she looked at her. "Please, Naruko. Don't make me die. I'm sorry for acting like your friend when I wasn't, okay? I've never disliked you." "Just a moment." Iruka begged him to leave. "Stop talking nonsense, Iruka. Even after you died, I saw what you did. I saw how you tried to get close to my sister Anko," Scarlet says as she walks toward him. "Can you? Don't murder me," he asked. "Oh no, I'm not going to kill you." She got close to him and stuck her knife in his crotch, which made him scream. "You're going to go back to the Leaf Village and tell that old bimbo I'm back. And when the time is right, the whole shinobi world will face Armageddon." She told him to take the knife out of his private area. As he ran, he held his crotch, which was bleeding. People in Wave cheered because they were finally free. As Zabuza and Haku freed the family, Scarlet turned toward the people of Wave. "Wave people. Since I've come back, the Leaf Village will no longer attack you. From this point on, I will rule over you. She said this as everyone cheered her name. Scarlet Uzumaki-kan, Scarlet Uzumaki-kan, Scarlet Uzumaki-kan. They cheered because they were glad to see their hero again. I'm glad to see you again, Anko says as he hugs Scarlet, who gives him a hug back and smiles to see her sister alive. My name is Anko, and from now on, this whole world will be made to look like me. She says that as she grew, ideas about how to gather her forces came to her. She will find the amulet that once belonged to Quan Kai. Having seen Shang Tsung and Quan Kai form a dangerous alliance and plan to use the Dragon King Onaga's army that can't be defeated to take control of the army and get other people to join her in her conquest. So she and her empire will be impossible to stop. And Raiden. Having seen in his visions what Scarlet wants to do, he must stop her. How could the Elder Gods let this happen? I have to stop. Before Scarlet gets what she wants. He said he was leaving to find the heroes of the Earth Realm, Wave. Scarlet now lives in the Wave Daimyo Castle. This is one day after the invasion. The Daimyo and Empress of Wave. She is now sitting on her throne in her throne room with Anko, Cyrax, Zabuza, and Haku. She is thinking about what to do next. She still wants to use the amulet that Quan Kai used to have to get the Dragon King Onaga's unbeatable army as her own army. But it's in Raiden's hands, which she would have to force him to give her if he didn't. On her way to getting revenge, she will need some helpers. She will have to go to Outworld and find people to help her. Since only Cyrax has both Zabuza and Haku. Maybe she could get Sub-Zero to teach Haku how to deal with the cold. Then you should get Scorpion. Given that she gave him a chance to get back at her. After killing Quan Kai, she stripped the sorcerer of his powers and took them for herself. She then brought Quan Kai back to life and gave him to Scorpion so that he could suffer forever in the Nether Realm, which made Scorpion happy. As Quan Kai would be tortured and killed over and over again by Scorpion in the Nether Realm until he begged to die. Then search for Reptile. She could promise him that his people would live again. Then bring Shiva with you. She has decided to go to Outworld to find the amulet and Onaga's army, which are her friends. I've made up my mind what to do. I'm going to Outworld to find some allies to help my empire grow. I'm leaving Zabuza and Anko in charge of Wave to protect it and make sure it stays safe. Cyrax will travel with me on my trip. Scarlet says, and everyone agrees with her. Good luck with your mission, kid, says Zabuza. Scarlet-sama, may I come with you? As he looked at her, Haku asked. I guess it wouldn't hurt if you came with me and Cyrax. She answered. When are we going to leave? He asked once more. Within 3 days. Was her simple answer as she got off her throne and looked at Anko. Leave us alone, the rest of you. Cyrax, Zabuza, and Haku left the room, leaving Scarlet and Anko alone. Tell me then, what has changed since I died? Anko frowned as Scarlet asked. Since you died, a lot has changed. Tsunade is still being a stuck-up B***TCH. The Jonin and the newcomers, with the exception of Hinata, are all hypocrites. Anko said, and Scarlet cocked her head. How is Hinata getting along? She said. That's bad. After not liking how you did your move, she wouldn't even look at her sensei and teammates. That dog boy Kiba keeps trying to get closer to her and wants to get into her pants. Hell's father had arranged for her to marry Kiba, but she turned him down. Because of this, she was marked with the caged bird seal, and her younger sister took her place. Anko told her, and Scarlet's red eyes got smaller. When does she get married? Scarlet hissed like she was going to kill someone. In about a month. Anko, who was afraid of her sister's plan to kill, replied as Scarlet grew a cruel smile. Good, I'll crash the wedding and save her before Kiba can try to touch her. If he does, I'll do the same thing to him that I did to Iruka. Scarlet tells me. Anything else I need to know that has changed? Scarlet wanted to. I heard that the new Mizukage, whose name is Mei Terumi, is now in charge of Kiri. Anko said, and Scarlet didn't answer because she was waiting for her to go on. Shizune is still around, but she hasn't spoken to Tsunade since you were killed, said Anko. What about the Ichiraiku? How are they getting along? Again, Scarlet asked while Anko looked down. They were not successful. Anko says as Scarlet looks at him. Anko, what do you mean? What did they do? Scarlet yelled and looked mad. They killed Tucci and his daughter. They didn't like what Tsunade did to you, so they wouldn't serve anyone who ruined your reputation. They even thought about leaving the village. She told Kakashi to do the public execution. Anko's answer was full of hate and disgust. Scarlet looked very angry. That old B*TCH had killed her two best friends, who did not think she was a monster. Just because they defended her and spoke up for her. Scarlet's blood started to boil as she clenched her fists. How are you? What about Moegi and Udon? She finally asked, shaking with anger. The three are fine, but they miss you. And their big sister. Anko promised. That's good, because if Asuma touches my little brother, I'll kill him and his girlfriend, Kurenai. Scarlet growled at the two Jonins because they had helped torture her when she was Naruko. Do I need to know anything else? Anko shook her head while Scarlet asked. Alright. When I get back from Outworld, my best friend Hinata and I are going to crash Kiba's wedding and keep her from becoming his whore. And help Konoharumu and his friends. Scarlet gave her word. She was going to save Hinata because she knew Kiba didn't just want her for love, he wanted her for her body, and because her father and clan had put the cage bird seal on Hinata's head, Kiba would use it against her if she didn't do what he wanted. She was also going to castrate that jerk. Taking care of him and putting him down like a dog. Then Shizune can be saved, too. As Scarlet left her room with the throne. Borders of Kumo. There was Yugito, hurt and bloody from her fight with Kakazu and Hidan, lying on the ground. Before the two of them could drag her somewhere to get her tail beast taken away, a portal opened and Scarlet walked out of it. Hey! You're that redhead who killed Deidara and Sasori. Hidan yelled, and he looked happy to see her. Well, this is very strange. Kakazu said, I didn't think she would come to us. You two know someone I'm looking for. Give her up or get ready for a deadly combat. Scarlet says in a scary voice. Like bitch. Move over, Kakazu, and let me get to her. Hidan says he came at her with his three-bladed scythe, and she came at him with a blood scythe. They clashed and exchanged blows with their weapons, and Yugito was knocked out while Kakazu held her and watched the fight. I'll give you that you're good, but not good enough. He says that as she dodged and ducked, he swung his scythe at her, and she hit his feet with her blood whip, knocking him down and making him lose his balance. He just barely got out of the way of her blood spear when she tried to stab him with it. When he rolled out of the way and got back on his feet, they clashed again, glared at each other, and exchanged more attacks with their weapons so quickly that Hidan couldn't keep up. And in a flash, she cut off his right arm, sending it and his scythe flying. Aw. Bitch, that hurt you. He growled and used his left arm to pull a pike out of his cloak and use it as a weapon to try to spear her. As his anger and frustration grew, he threw it at her face to try to pierce her, but she dodged it by ducking down, and when he missed, she gave him a strong uppercut that knocked his whole head off. She did something cruel. His body fell limp on his knees, and blood poured onto her, making her stronger and more powerful. Kakazu seemed surprised by this. What the hell? How could she do that? Yelled at Hidan was angry because he could barely feel his body and it hurt. It hurts like the son of a whore. Don't just stand there, Kakazu. Get over here and kill her, you B*TCH. He yelled curses at Scarlet and looked at her with anger. She started sucking all of his blood out of his body. Thanks for the meal, your blood was definitely tasty. She said with happiness that she felt much better. Kakazu dropped Yugito and charged at Scarlet. She dodged his tendrils and shot a blood ball at him, which hit him in the face. She then ran over and punched and kicked him while he was blinded. He ran over and kicked her as she blocked him with her hand. He was surprised when she pulled some blood from him with her hand. Aw. Tastes great. You've got 5 hearts in you, right? She asked, and he looked surprised that she already knew the answer. How? Asked the man who was after money. After taking some of your blood, I could tell you have 5 hearts beating inside you. Talk about problems with the heart. She said something with both hands out and slashed blood tendrils into all 5 of Kakazu's hearts. He was shocked and looked at her. What are you doing? He yelled when he started to hurt. Once I get your blood pressure up, you'll see. She says, now, all of Kakazu's hearts are pumping a lot of blood into him, making him groan and scream in pain. He could feel his heart getting bigger and filling up with more blood. After having so much blood, his heart blew up in an instant. Kakazu fell to the ground with wide eyes as a huge hole opened up in his chest. The hole destroyed his whole body and made a big hole in his back. It also broke his masks. After she killed him, Scarlet took his soul and his blood. Hidan couldn't believe that Kakazu had lost. As she walked toward Hidan, she called up his blood wrath hammer. Anything else? She asked him to get his hammer ready. Screw you. Hidan swore. She hit his whole head with the hammer, sending blood and brain matter flying everywhere. After killing 2 more Akatsuki, she picked up Yugito and opened a portal that took her back to her castle. Right now, Konoha. Iruka, could you say that again? Did you just say that Naruko hurt you? Don't be a moron. The jerk is dead. Tsunade snarled. Hokage-sama, she's really there. She put Mizuki to death. Don't believe me if you don't. Have the Yamanaka family look into my thoughts. He told her after she fixed his wound that he can't have kids anymore, which made him sad. If I find out you lied, I'll kill you myself, because she is dead and can't come back. Kakashi cut off her head and set her on fire. She could not have survived that. Tsunade said, I refuse to believe that Naruko is still alive and is Scarlet. After about half an hour, Inoichi went into Iruka's mind and looked shocked and horrified. That was the girl he and his daughter both tried to hurt, right? Well? Tsunade asked him quickly. Hokage-sama. He is telling the truth. Naruko is back and alive. He replied, and she widened her eyes as she thought about what Naruko had said. Everyone will have to pay for this. I swear on my Uzumaki blood that I'll find a way to come back and get even with everyone who betrayed me. There will be blood. Naruko says angrily. Tsunade wouldn't accept it. It can't happen. Somehow, that brat came back as Scarlet. And wants to kill. What will she say to the council? Don't say anything. This is not good. No one will know about this just yet. You get it? Tsunade says, and they both nod. She said, good luck, as they left, and she needs to drink some sake. Get Jiraiya for me. Kakashi. She shouted. Shizune could only shake her head after hearing everything. And be happy. You can't get out of this Tsunade by running away. You and everyone else who did her wrong should get it. Naruko-chan has a right to get even with you and everyone else who betrayed her. Shizune, who was glad Naruko was back, thought.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.